Here's my top 3 bikes that Harley Davidson needs to produce and release today. Number 1 on the list has got to be, there's only one bike that everybody's waiting for that's way past overdue, and we know it's just sitting there waiting to be released, and that's the Harley Davidson streetfighter, the Bronx. Come on, Harley Davidson, it's time. I mean, my Sportster is fun and all, and I treat it like a sport bike, but I know there's some performance to be had out there by getting the Bronx that would take me several thousands of dollars to approach, but never really get there on my Sportster. And I don't want to get rid of my Sportster just because I want to have some fun on that type of bike. So I've been looking at the Suzuki Katana 999cc bike, 135, 140 horsepower until you dyno it and unlock the secrets and goodies. You can get over 150, 160. Then there's the MT-09, the MT-10 Special. So all those bikes live around 13 to 15 grand. If the Bronx can come out around 15 in the 975 variant with all the technology package that you see on the Sportster S, including cruise control, hey man, why not? That's a bike I'd pull the trigger on. And I think a lot of people in the age bracket and demographic that Harley is looking to target would have the ability to bring that bike on home. And you're also going to see some brand hoppers that really would like to own a Harley Davidson in that style and have not jump on board, as well as some Gen Zers with some disposable income or a hand in their daddy's pocket spring for one of those rather than getting a Ducati.
The Bronx debuted at the annual bike show in Milan, Italy in 2019, an event known to showcase upcoming releases from motorcycle manufacturers, and it put the industry on notice. A few months later, Harley Davidson had a change in executive leadership, and the Bronx, a streetfighter-style naked sport bike, was put on the shelf by incoming CEO Jochen Zeitz. Zeitz did fulfill the promise of another bike showcased at the same Milan show, the Pan America, which was released in 2021. The Bronx takes an aim at popular sport bike segment known as naked bikes. Naked means that there are no fairings or plastic bodywork, like one would find on a MotoGP style sport bike, aka the crotch rocket, but with the same amount of engine, transmission, and frame performance and high performance parts, brakes, etc. The preliminary specifications released for the Bronx in 2019 are: engine displacement 975cc, the same RevMax engine horsepower and less for torque, but we're rating at 76 foot-pounds of torque at 143 horsepower. Seat height 24 inches, exhaust 2-1 standard with Euro 6 compliant emission standards, 19-inch wheels in the front, 16 in the rear, a fuel capacity of 4 gallons, 4-piston 320mm Brembo brakes up front, and an inverted front suspension. In April, the internet was abuzz, reconfirming the Bronx's release as a 2023 model, possibly hitting the streets as early as January 2023. Harley Davidson, it's time to release the Bronx.
The number 2 bike on my list is a bike that needs to come out right away, just like all these bikes. And another bike that I'd highly consider plopping cash down. And it's a different bike from the Bronx. It's a different style of riding. And it's actually more functional and utilitarian over the Bronx, but it's a different, like I said, feeling that you get when you're on it. And that is a new variant of the Pan America. The Pan America 975. Maybe don't call it Pan America, call it the America 975 or the Cross Country 975 or something. Fact is, Harley needs a middleweight adventure bike / sport tourer, because Harley Davidson needs to release a middleweight ADV adventure bike for off-road purposes or sport touring. But let's not kid ourselves. The Pan America, the typical Pan America owner isn't taking that bike off-road on the regular. But there's some of us out there that are interested in doing some trails, some BDR. And when we do that, I think we need something a little bit lighter. With the Aprilia releasing the Touareg 660, the Tenere 700 out there, we need something in that 15 grand price range or less that has the ability to go off-road and isn't a behemoth. Throw in the 975 Nightster engine and you got yourself a middleweight Sport Tourer, and a middleweight adventure bike. Why the heck not?
Speculation surrounding a Pan America 975 peaked this spring, with varied reports citing sources inside of Harley Davidson working on a middleweight version due to the successful launch and continued sell-through of the full-size Pan America model, despite service setbacks and a learning curve by Harley dealership technicians. Therefore, speculation on specifications are based upon the Nightster model released earlier this year, which uses the new 975 Revolution Max power plant, with adjusted torque and horsepower numbers to better suit the purpose of a middleweight ADV motorcycle. And these suggested specs are engine displacement 975cc, torque 83 foot-pounds with 94 horsepower, a seat height of 31.4 inches, 2-in-1 exhaust, 21-inch front wheels, 19-inch rear, with a fuel capacity of 4.5 gallons, 4-piston 320mm Brembo brakes in the front, and the same dashboard technology as the current 1250 Pan America model, albeit just a slightly smaller display to accommodate the smaller chassis.
Number 3 is a bike that I'd like to have just to cruise around town. It's got the stance that I like, that's different from what's available today. And it kind of reminds me of my Sportster, but it's a big twin. I already have a Sportster and I love whipping it around and treating it like my personal sport bike without having the need for a crotch rocket. But what about that bar hopper style bike? Where did that go? We had the Rocker C back in the day. We had the boat tail, soft tail standards. We had the wide glide in the Dynaline. Well, in 2011 through 2013, Harley Davidson had a bike called the Blackline, and I think they need to bring that back. Now you might say, Kenny, they have the soft tail standard and the street bob right now. Well, what I'm saying is we want to go back to a bike that to me is considered a pure bobber, stripped down, but it has little subtle touches of Harley Davidson design and style that's just not available today, and includes some lost design elements that they've moved away from that I think they need to bring back. Yeah, I can just imagine a Blackline with a swing arm bag on it, little pillion pad, no backrest. She's got to hold on to me tight. Maybe a 2-up seat, or maybe a bobber seat with a pillion pad, a really small pillion pad, because we're not going to be on the bike too long after we find each other at the bar at 1 o'clock in the morning, if you know what I mean. And I think this bike needs to have a round gauge, and the gauge that's on the FXLRS right now is the perfect gauge for this bike. And I think they can sell this bike. The Blackline listed for $15,549. And as the soft tail chassis platform has matured, I think we could bring that bike back at $15,000 to $16,000, right where it was. And we can move the street bob price up a little bit, and you have that in between the standard and the street bob, but it's got to have the wire lace wheels and tubeless if you can make that happen.
What makes the Blackline different than the Street Bob or Softail Standard is the wide forks, the small headlight, the small bobber seat, the split tank design, reminiscent of 1940 and 1950 models, rather than the current one-piece tank design reminiscent from the 1970s. Forward controls would be standard, a lower seat height for that low-slung look. Specifications for performance would be based on the Street Bob 114, with a rake and trail numbers based on the Blackline twin cam release of 10 years ago. With the 114 cubic inch power plant, engine displacement would be 1868 cc with 119 foot-pounds of torque. A rake of 30 degree with 4.8 inch trail, a seat height of 24 inches, 2-in-1 standard exhaust, 21 inch wheels up front, 16 in the rear, a tubeless wire spoke, and a Tax Speedo hybrid analog digital with a fuel capacity of 5 gallons. Of course, this is all speculative, and my recommendation to Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson, bring back the Blackline in a 114. So the Blackline 114 joins the Bronx and the Pan America 950 as my recommended picks for Harley Davidson as new motorcycle releases for the next year. Let's hope that they're listening. Each one provides a value segment that I feel that Harley Davidson is missing right now. Parts can be shared amongst other models in the line, such as the engine with the Bronx and the Pan America, and the Blackline, as well with the Street Bob, the Lowrider S, and other with the 114 power plant. And the only real difference with the Blackline and the parts is the wide fork setup. There's currently not a model in Harley's line that's using that same fork setup, but they've used it in the past. So let's see if Harley's listening and takes action on my recommendations.
Thanks for watching this video. If you're interested in the Harley Davidson lifestyle and following along on my journey as a new rider, as I immerse myself in the motorcycle culture, upgrade my motorcycles, my 2 Harley Davidson motorcycles, and counting, come along, follow me on my journey. I really would like to have you. And you can follow along as I get into all sorts of situations, good and bad. I report everything. I'm not one of those guys that just reports the good stuff. If I crash, you'll see it. If I make bad decisions, you'll see it. And you can watch me progress as I take on technical challenges, like working on my bike or tackling highways like Tail of the Dragon. It's free to subscribe. That's it for this one. If you ride, keep that shiny side up. And if you don't ride, what are you waiting for? There's a Harley Davidson out there with your name on it. We'll see you next time. Deuces.
Hey guys, it's Haley. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for notifications. See you next time.